Hey, good morning, folks. We're going to get started here soon on looking at the weather. A lot of summery weather to talk about. The pattern has finally evolved. Hey, good morning. I'm MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. Summery weather through most of this forecast, and with the heat and humidity and a jet stream over us, that comes the chance of severe weather. So I will be talking about that. A great summer day is on the way, is what I'm going to call it. We'll look at the storms back to the north and west, and when those could get our way. Those storms will be tonight, and then more summery weather after that until we get to the weekend, when a backdoor cold front will move through from the north, cool us off about 5 to 7 degrees. Not as cold as last weekend, but cool us back to the 70s. So we'll take a look at that. Hey, let's say hi to some folks before we get started here. Good morning, Bill Hobart and Greg Malosh. Good morning, North Muskegon. I'm not sure if I said that right. Melissa Evans, good morning. And Bonnie Clark and Michael Warboy, good morning to you. Storms? Do I hear maybe storms? Yes, let's get started with that for Teresa and Baker Carl. Here we go. This is the forecast from the severe weather experts, and this is where it comes out of what we call the Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma. So they issue this severe weather outlook, and the yellow areas for the southern half of Michigan, that's what we call a slight risk. Now, slight, we've found over the years, was not a good word for them to initially choose, because everybody says, well, slight, that's no big deal. Then to the west of us in Wisconsin and Minnesota, enhanced risk. Basically what that signifies is we believe there will be a clump of severe thunderstorms develop somewhere in Minnesota, northern Iowa, move into Wisconsin. And usually it declines in intensity because of the timing, and that will be the case. Timed to come through Michigan in the middle of the night, and that's usually a lesser chance of severe weather. So then we'd start to break it down a little bit better on the types of severe weather. And this right here is the chance of a tornado, and that's 2% in lower Michigan. And again, that sounds fairly low, but it's still enough to warrant the fact that storms could produce an isolated tornado. You got the 5% chance of a tornado to our west. Damaging winds, 58 mile an hour wind gusts in a thunderstorm or greater. Then you start to say, it sounds like something to think about at least. 15% chance in the yellow area in the southern half of lower Michigan. And large hail, inch diameter or greater, 15% chance. Off to the west, the red and the black hatched areas. Black hatched means 10% greater chance of 2-inch, which we call very large hail. So off to the west. So basically the scenario we're seeing is that the storm complex to our west will develop this afternoon in the heat of the day and move toward Michigan, southern half of Michigan, overnight tonight. And I want to remind you that the MLive Morning Weather Update is brought to you by Abley Greenhouse and Garden Center in Saginaw, just off I-75 at M81, just before the Z Bridge. If you're heading north, maybe you got your vegetables and your flowers planted. Hey, now it's time to go to the trees and the shrubs and make your front of your house look pretty. We'll be there either tomorrow or Thursday to show you what's going on. Tomorrow may be too stormy, so I might be hanging back in front of the maps. All right, so let's look at the radar and let's get to it. The radar shows that we have dry conditions across most of Michigan, but we also have a little clump of thunderstorms across the UP. I wanted to show you this because I think this will put it into perspective for you. This is the upper airflow. Let me see if I can get a good perspective for you. I might not be able to on this one. Okay, so this is the upper airflow superimposed over the top of the satellite picture. And so what you're seeing is clump of thunderstorms developing out in the Dakotas. Look at the upper airflow. It comes into, arches up into Minnesota and then arcs down into Wisconsin and Michigan. So that would be the path of thunderstorms out of the northwest. Mark Wilbur wants to know, any more frost? No. Curtis Jack wants, do you think they will upgrade it to a higher threat. No, I don't think, because of the timing. Good morning, Veronica Horn. Any storms in or near Wayne County, Ivy Marie, you would be late tonight, well after midnight. So let's get to that part now. Let's get to the radar forecast and just let you know that today, like I said, is a great summer day across Michigan. There is that little clump of thunderstorms across the UP. Those tend to die in the late morning. So we're into 8 o'clock tonight, 9, 10, 11, midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. So really the stuff that's coming across Michigan that could be severe would be in the middle of the night, and that tends to lessen the chances of severe weather. Okay. And then after those move through early tomorrow morning, that's 8 o'clock, then it looks like tomorrow will be a dry day, and Thursday. That's why I say there's a lot of nice summery weather. There's a lot of nice weather in this forecast here. Okay. All right. So here are the high temperatures for today. We should be 83 to 85. Deb Butcher, Bad Axe, you would get the storms if you get them. You would get them toward tomorrow morning, probably 3 to 5 in the morning. Hillary Jones, Saginaw, same deal, 2 to 4 in the morning. Brian Chalupa, no, you don't have to cover anything now. We have fully summer weather. So we're in the 80s today. We're in the low 80s in most places tomorrow. That's just because there's some leftover clouds and maybe a little bit of a northerly wind behind the storms. We're back to the low to mid 80s on Thursday. Friday, ahead of a cold front, we're warm, very warm in the southeast. Detroit near 90, but as you transfer back, temperatures in the upper 70s to low 80s. So really nice weather this week. And then, like I said, this weekend, what we call a backdoor cold front will move through. That's where a cold front comes straight out of the north, turns the wind to the northeast. It doesn't look like a vigorous one. So it'll drop the temperatures into the 70s. Maybe you find some upper 60s right along a northeast shoreline or so. This is the same deal for Sunday. So again, not as chilly as last weekend. Last weekend we dropped to highs in the 60s. This weekend, highs in the 70s. And then the heat starts building back after 2 days, and we're gone. Connie LaHellier, Traverse City, you might get in on the thunderstorms. Let's look at the northern parts of the state. So this is overnight tonight, and it generally tries to miss Traverse City. It's probably a southern half of lower Michigan type thing. Let's look into the future a little bit, okay? One thing, a tropical system is probably forming in the Gulf of Mexico. That eventually affects our weather, but it will take 5 to 7 days or more before it does so. So here is the model that I like, the European, okay, and it's showing that little clump of thunderstorms moving through tonight, and then it's showing dry weather on Wednesday and dry weather on Thursday. And Friday, as that cold front comes through, there could be some scattered thunderstorms on Friday, and then dry weather as we head into the weekend. Heat building just to our west. Look at the Gulf Coast. That could be a tropical system. It could be a tropical storm. Could be a hurricane heading into Texas, Louisiana, somewhere in the Gulf Coast. That's still pretty far out to pinpoint, but that's an interesting area because sometimes, I don't want to say often, but that's the particular spot that I watch for something residual to come toward Michigan. And look what the European does. Now we're into June 9th, next week, Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, and it tracks it up into the Ohio Valley and then maybe into the southern Great Lakes. So definitely something to watch for, especially as we get into high lake levels, floods that have preceded. The sponge is still soaked for the most part. We don't want a tropical system. So we won't get too worried about that just yet, but we'll keep an eye on it as we go into next week. And of course, we'll worry about it if we know anybody that lives in Texas or Louisiana or along the Gulf Coast. So great summer day today. Perhaps a clump of thunderstorms tonight that could be vigorous, could be severe. Timing is on our side, is coming through middle of the night to not be massively severe, but it does happen too that we get severe storms. So we'll just have to keep you updated on that in the afternoon and see as the model runs come in, see if the data shows that the jet stream will still be strong and the instability will still be there in the middle of the night. Lori Garcia, I know it is gorgeous outside today. And then we got a couple of more nice days, Wednesday, Thursday, and probably Friday. So, hey, no complaints on this weather. Thanks for joining me on the MLive Morning Weather Update. This one's brought to you by Abilene Greenhouse and Garden Center, just off I-75 in Saginaw. Check them out if you're a garden lover. You'll be glad you did. Take care. Have a safe Tuesday.